Hey, welcome everyone to the Bassmaster Studio, sponsored by Marathon. That is Ronnie Moore. I'm Tommy Sanders. It's 2024, but 2025 is coming up fast. And Ronnie, people want to know specific things about 2025 and the Bassmaster Elite Series. Like, where are we going to be fishing? Well, now we know.
Yeah, and that's the thing, Tommy. We had a couple announcements this offseason people were looking forward to. The schedule, also with the technological advances, what we were going to do there. You got the Opens that's highly anticipated, but today we get to talk about the Bassmaster Elite Series schedule, the 9 events, plus the Classic. We'll give you a refresher where we're going for that one.
Everybody spends their time guessing this time of year, but now it's time to actually get down to actual facts. So let's talk about what we're going to do, and this is not unusual for us to start the season down in Florida, and we'll start with the St. Johns River.
Yeah, this year in 2024, Tommy, we kind of switched it up and started in Louisiana and Texas for our first two stops, but back to the usual, you should say, the Sunshine State when it's cold everywhere else. February, the St. Johns River, and Tommy, we've seen it won in multiple places. We've seen Salt Springs where Corey Johnston won most recently. You've seen way north with Paul Mueller in 2020. You saw a little bit of Rodman, a little bit of the river with John Cruz in 22. You saw the bottom end of George for Brian New's victory as well. And then you think about Rick Clunn and the good work he did in that Willaca region of the St. Johns River. So many different places. It'll be interesting to see with all the efforts of grass and protection of that fishery that they've been putting in there the last year or two. Maybe there is a growth of grass there, and that fishery is on its way back to what we expect it to be, which is high weights, great fishing, and a good haven to start the season, kind of like the Daytona 500 is.
Yeah, absolutely. And Florida strained bass, that's partially the reason for the high weights there. And of course, very susceptible to temperature and weather, like all of our Florida stuff are going to be forever.
And I could see with our tournament department, you know, Lisa Talmadge, Chris Bowes, everybody there, talking about with our developments with technology that we're trying to make a different type of schedule, work in deep water, work in shallow water, different regions of the country. We always are asking about Rodman. Is Rodman in play? Is Rodman not in play? Some years it's been on the schedule in the lake playing field. Sometimes it's not. I could see if they wanted it to not be one in deep water, I could see that being left off this year and be river only, but there are plenty of places to fish. Crescent Lake really shined this past year fishing there in April. We saw a lot of different looks, and so St. John's, it's good to be back, and it's good to track the progress of this place as it makes its way back.
100 miles of that 300 miles of the St. Johns River available for fishing. Lake George, both sides. You mentioned all the other places they can fish. There's a lot of options there, a lot of different ways to catch them. Always look forward to starting the season out. And we wrap it up, we'll wrap up our Florida trip with a trip to Okeechobee. Now, Lake Okeechobee, of course, is the original big bass destination for America. Going back all those many years, the inland sea in the state of Florida, 730 square miles. It is massive. Not every place is equal, though. You need to find something a little bit different, sort of carve yourself out a little spot, and maybe you got a chance to win. And then the totally unexpected can happen, as happened the last time the Elites were there.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, Scott Martin winning the Open earlier this year in 2024 in record fashion showed us that big bass still congregate and live at Lake Okeechobee. It's just where they live and the pressure they receive or the structure and the cover that they're able to be around. A lot of this, you know, Lake Okeechobee is the same water mass that it's always been, but it's kind of shrunk in the areas of good vegetation and cover for these fish to be in. That's why we did see in 2023 with the Elite Series Tyler Rivette doing something a little different. That is now revealed to the world. Probably not going to be as easy if someone tries to replicate that. You've got those areas we could call community holes, like Scott Martin, just out on the edge of them, utilizing knowledge, patience, and technology in that. But there's always some different twists and turns. We had 2 or 3 anglers in 3 or 4 different regions on that final day of the Open this season, which is slated for the same month, that February time period. I know we were in Florida in April this year at the Harris Chain and the St. John's, but going back there now, it'll be interesting to see how they approach it, especially because that is one of the earliest lakes in the country to warm up and for the spawn to be full force.
Well, if it's anything close to, and this will be roughly the same time of year to what that Open was to start 2024, it is going to be one to look forward to, one to circle on your calendar for
Absolutely. Sure. And then I always loved when the Classic started the season, but it was always really cold at the World Championship. But now that we've moved it to March, the last decade, it seems, the fishing should be primed up, and that's where we'll head next before we resume the Elite schedule.
Yeah, we're going back to Lake Ray Roberts down in Texas. We were there in 2021. That was the COVID year when the Classic got postponed earlier in the season to June. And it was a little bit hot out there, 23 miles long, about 30,000 acres there on the Elm Fork of the Trinity River. But a good fishery, solid fishery, got a lot of standing timber, a lot of different environments there, brush, plenty of brush piles and stuff like that. Plus you got the riprap around the dams and bridges and so forth like that. A lot of different options for the anglers there as well.
It was definitely a twist and turn for that Classic in 21, but like we said, it was June, it was hot, it was different, but we got a little bit of taste of what this body of water can put out. Giant bass, heard of plenty of 8s to 10s, even bigger than 10-pounders, getting caught in practice during the Classic. I think, Chad Pipkins had a 9-pounder. I think Frank Talley had some giant fish as well. That lake has big bass, and March should be the place it shines. There should be a late spawn, probably early post-spawn, maybe some topwater mixed in. If maybe the water levels are higher, you definitely have some bushes in play.
Let's go!
Definitely more ways to catch them than just one. And I'm excited to go back there on the regularly scheduled time for the Classic. It was a treat to have it close to the summer like we did in 21, but back to regular schedule, I think late March will really shine for this place.
And it is the Classic, so the venue is very important. Dickey's Arena is a fabulous state-of-the-art place, a wonderful place to have that huge, the biggest event in the sport of bass fishing. It's just going to be a lot of fun there in Fort Worth, and I can't wait to get back there. Catching numbers may be the challenge there, not the size.
Yeah, you could definitely see someone competing, early in the tournament with 4 keepers, but they're all giants, and that's the thing. Balancing big bites versus quantity. We know Hank Cherry outlasted the field at the Classic there. Matt Airy was hard charging that final day. We had guys like Steve Kennedy in the mix the whole time as well. It's not just jighead minnow there, so we'll see what patterns definitely show up in the brush and the bushes and the timber there for sure.
Looking forward to a big Classic in Texas for the 4th time in the state of Texas, so that'll be fun. All right, time for Ronnie Moore to shine right now. North Carolina native Ronnie Moore. We are going to a place that probably none of us watching this show right now have ever been to for a bass tournament, because there hasn't been one there since 1981, the Pasquotank River in Albemarle Sound, Elizabeth City, North Carolina. You went to school right around there.
Yeah, not far. I went to school about 45 minutes to the west, I'd say, in Greenville over there, and then you vacation. If you go to North Carolina and you vacation in the Outer Banks, you're just 10, 15 miles to the east of there, but a great body of water. These tidal bodies of water are always interesting. The one that we really get a taste of is the St. Johns River. You get a taste of the Sabine in those earlier months at times. Right. Getting there in April, the places like the James River, Chowan, Pasquotank River, all of these tidal fisheries in the Carolinas, Virginia, that region, fantastic fishing. There should be a lot of ways to do it. I don't know about the longest runs we'll see. It is pretty a self-contained big Albemarle Sound. Like you said, the Pasquotank River flows into it. But Edenton, Elizabeth City, you got the Alligator River, so many other places to go. I think that this is going to be a good, pleasant surprise and a great way to kick off April, which is a great fishing month across the country, but for sure in the Carolinas.
We made a couple of trips to Winyah Bay. That's been great fun. Lots of different looks there. You can go to the connecting waterways to these main rivers, find lots of different environments there. It's very, very interesting to watch the best in the business break those places down.
It'll be the looks of it. You can say this looks like a Santee Cooper in some places. This looks like maybe one of the other tidal rivers in that neck of the range. It looks like it, but it will be brand new to basically our entire Elite Series field. I think the only person who had tangible experience at this body of water would be Rick Clunn, and he fell short of winning that 1981 event to none other than Basil Bacon. You got Larry Nixon.
And Larry Nixon was right there in the top 3 as well.
I mean, iconic names of the 80s in that tournament. Definitely, if you wanted something new on the Elite Series, this is a new venue. Excited to go to Elizabeth City and check that out. It'll be I think some people maybe I fished in college with will be at the weigh-ins every day, for sure. They live in that region.
All right. Well, we look forward, and we'll learn more about that as we go, and we'll pass that information
The playing
along.
Field sizes as well, because those are still being outlined, how far.
All the limits and boundaries 100%, and everything like that.
But Elizabeth City, a way to step up and way to get a new body of water on the Elite Series. It's hard. We've been around for so long, Tommy. You go to a lot of the same places because there's only so many places we can go. It's good to have a new one.
So that's the first 3 events of the 9 events of the Bassmaster Elite: St. John's, Okeechobee, and Pasquotank River. The Classic is mixed in there as well. And now we go back to South Carolina to a very famous Classic venue, and that is Lake Hartwell.
Lake Hartwell. Last time we were there, Tommy, 2022, Jason Christie got his revenge, wins the Classic. You had some of the names that, showcased that they would be stars soon. Justin Hamner getting 4th in that Classic. So many other guys. When you've got the Luke Palmers of the world that did very well in that event, Stetson Blaylock, Kyle Welcher. Very good crop of guys that did well in that 2022 Classic. But Tommy, it has been, we have a lot of trails, junior, high school, college, nation, team, all of these opens. They visit Hartwell, but it's been since 2019 since the Elites have been there. And that was when local boy Brandon Cobb took the title in April. We saw some topwater fishing. We saw some sight fishing. Some guys were already deep water fishing, whether those fish were post-spawn or whether they were pre-spawn and hadn't moved into spawn yet. Spotted bass, largemouth. You've got obviously the Seneca, the Tougaloo, and then the bottom of the lake. Georgia, South Carolina is where that straddles.
And we saw diversity like that at the Classic back in 22. Christie starting with some deeper tributaries upstream, half a day, and then you go down and fish docks for half a day. Welcher, I think, was second place, spent most of his time around a marina up lake there. Blaylock was out fishing in the main lake, points on the main lake, and Hamner was down by the dam.
Yeah, and I think that when you think about balancing April, we're going to see schools of fish show up for sure. People fishing offshore, no doubt, especially those creeks and drains and those those islands and shoals. But when you're tantalized with a 5-pound largemouth up on a bed or cruising the banks, protecting fry maybe, just wolf packing, that's going to draw some anglers as well. And you could see, like you said, split time. Part of your day spent doing one thing, change gears, look for a kicker another way. April at Hartwell never disappoints.
Tons of bass in the 3-pound range. 4-pounders are good stuff. That is gold. And of course, the game changers are 5-pounders and up there.
And if you do get heavy rain, we've seen parts of Lake Hartwell get dirty. And people like Jason Christie have utilized those areas. So we will see what the water clarity is in some places, what the water level is too. Remember all those years when it was absolutely low as it can get, and then there was, there was some growth up on the banks. The next time we go there, I think that depending on water level, water clarity, how warm the spring is or cold, will really determine a lot.
All right, Lake Hartwell, Anderson, South Carolina, April 24th through the 27th. And then we go down to the state of Texas. When were we going to? That's when. We'll go down there after we finish up in South Carolina.
Put your shorts on.
Get your shorts on and get ready for Big Bass at Lake Fork.
Lake Fork, this is going to be interesting because we've got some semblance of history this time of the year, Tommy. Lee Livesey wins in 2022 there in that May time period. And then you think about 2019, Brandon Cobb won there early May. We've had some late April tournaments. This year we started there in February with Trey McKinney winning. A lot of different winners, different regions of the lake factor, different strategies as well. We do have tangible experience in May, but I could definitely see it fishing a little bit different with how these anglers, they know so much about it now. Everyone knows the key areas to go to, so it might be one of those deals. You got to find the spot within the spot, the area around the area, so that you're not in there with so many other people, but we know giant bass are going to show up. This place has never been less than 100 pounds. I wouldn't expect it anything less than 110, 112 pounds for sure.
All right, Lake Fork, Yantis, Texas, May 8th through the 11th. Should be really great. No doubt it will be. I mean, there's just no other way it's going to happen. Staying in Texas for a completely different look as we head to the Sabine River. It's been a little while since we've been to the Sabine River. Orange, Texas, May 15th through the 18th. Think about the vastness of that fishery. You can be there in Orange, Texas, run 90 miles up to the source, the top end, the Toledo Bend Dam, and then you can go back to Orange and run another 115 miles over to Houston, Texas, and all that acreage in between, literally hundreds of square miles.
And that might be on the docket this year. How do you make the same body of water different year after year? You could see Houston not be in play. That could be something that's, hey, let's just keep them. Let's keep them in this area, and then you use your abilities. Who knows? But we do know that is the wild card. If it is in play, who goes farthest north, where there's not much civilization, maybe not any gas, and then who goes as far south and west to maybe get away from people. But we saw guys like Caleb Summerall, Tommy, spend half their day one in Houston, and it didn't come to fruition. They end up switching game plans and surviving and having a great finish by fishing in the Orange metro area. You obviously had Brock Mosley with his huge breakthrough win in 2023 there. 2 years prior, Jason Christie and his return to the Elite Series won there. And then I think prior to that, 2018, Greg Hackney winning there. Those are three big names in the sport, and that's a fishery that really levels it out. You can play finesse game and fish on pressured fish. You could go and frog all day, flip all day. You could go square bill some cypress trees, things like that. Spinnerbait could be in play, and we could see, maybe some power shot and some heavier line drop shotting for sure for some anglers.
Well, it'd be fun going back there. Of course, it's fun to be with the crowd there. The crowds are with 3 of the top 8 attendance records in Bassmaster Elite Series history set right there. Just a great bunch of folks there who are really bass fishing crazy.
Yeah, and it's hard not to go back to places like Waddington and like Orange, Texas. When you go there, you see the community show up, and then you go back here. We went to the St. Lawrence to end the season this year, Tommy, and the crowd was just as big, showed up huge for that for the anglers at the St. Lawrence. I wouldn't expect anything less than superb attendance and a big-time support from Orange, Texas.
All right, again, May 15th, 16th, 17th, and 18th, Orange, Texas, for the Sabine River. And then we jump to the month of June, and we will return to a place we haven't been for a few years. In fact, the last time we were there, we weren't really expecting to go there. Fort Gibson Lake on the Arkansas River had been flooded out. You couldn't launch anything there. It was just not workable, so we switched to Lake Tenkiller and had ourselves a great, great tournament up there a little bit higher up in the mountains.
Yeah, it was a nail-biter. And there was a lot of opportunities for some anglers to really get their breakthrough moment. And I remember that. It was sweltering. It was late in the year as well. Unexpected. I think we went to our northern swing, if I remember, and then we came back to do that one afterwards. Carl Jacobson winning that one, absolutely monumental story. You had guys like Kyle Monty, who used to be on the Elite Series with us, so close to winning that. That could have been his shining moment. Chris Zaldane was mixed in as well. And we remember, June 12th through the 15th, Tommy? That college classic in that 2017, 2018 range that Cody Huff and Garrett Enders won, Bethel University, docks with spoons. That was in the middle of the summer as well. And so we could see a mixture of both of those for sure go down. I know Jason Christie's probably very thrilled, not too far from his house. I think that he could not fill up his gas tank all week and make it to the ramp and back just fine. But
all 3 species?
Yes, for sure. And that's the one thing is, where do you put all your marbles? Are you going to try to mix it up and go to areas where you can maybe reach and touch all 3 species? Do you go up the river and just put it all in for largemouth? Maybe you go down to the dam. There's still plenty of floating marinas and docks. You've got islands. It does kind of set up, it's like a lake. It sets up like a lake, but it also fishes a little bit river-ish on how those turns are with the bluff banks and the cutouts and stuff from when that water rises and falls for sure. But it's a place that I've been in a boat, beautiful. That is an area that shows up big as well, fans-wise, and so I'm excited to bring a tournament to the Lake Tenkiller region.
Lake Tenkiller on the Cookson River, up in the Cookson Mountains, on the Illinois River in the Cookson Mountains there in Oklahoma. Again, that's June 12th, 13th, 14th, and 15th.
Maybe Jimmy Houston will show up to the wake.
I hope so.
He's not far from there.
We should be so lucky. That would be a lot of fun. Then we have 2 events in our northern swing this year, and of course starting with Lake St. Clair.
Yes, St. Clair, obviously getting to see it on the Elite Series the last couple times with Joey Cifuentes winning, doing something against the grain to win that event. You also had, prior to that, we really had, the COVID year, 2020, Bill Weidler winning. You had the AOI Championship there in 2019 in the fall time period. And even before that, 2017, Jason Christie winning that. A lot of big wins, a lot of moments that are memorable. It's always been won in different regions. That Anchor Bay region has really shown up big, and we see guys like Jay Shakir winning the Open most recently this year. That Anchor Bay region has been something special.
Oh my goodness.
Just like Champlain, though, Tommy, the second we know what's going to happen is the second that we don't know what's going to happen. We assume maybe Anchor Bay is going to play again as a big factor to win. But I could see it being somewhere different. It's been different prior years, and I don't want to count the chips before they do it.
And that's a great thing about that place. If it was always the exact same spot every year, it wouldn't be near as much fun. It's going to be great up there. Smallmouth is king there, of course. We see a big largemouth every now and then, but it's going to be a smallmouth.
Yeah, and I want to make a point. When you think about the schedule so far, you think about trying to do a diverse schedule. You've got some events in Florida. You've got shallow water fishing there. You've got a couple tidal rivers with the St. John's, Pascatank, and Sabine River. Those are all tidal. You've got a Hartwell that could have electronics factor, Fork as well. Tenkiller possibly. Depends, though. You can power fish your way to success there. St. Clair will be the one on the schedule where we expect it could be dominated by electronics like most of our northern swing events are. But before we end the season, we'll go to a place where the weights are just as tight as they ever are, and you can pick your poison and do it any way you want to.
Yeah, that's right. The Mississippi River, La Crosse, Wisconsin, August 21st, 22nd, 23rd, and 24th there on the border between Wisconsin. Pools 7, 8, and 9 of that Mississippi River offer a lot of different places to go get lost.
Yeah, Brian Schmidt, dominant there. Brandon Polnick, thankful for that body of water because he obviously had some great moments early in his career there, some tough moments as well. Winning Angler of the Year at the end of 2022 in a nail-biting fashion with Brandon Lester on his heels. Played for great dramatics. When the difference in 20th in the tournament is 12 and a half, 13 pounds, possibly. It could be higher, but just a reference. Half a pound or a pound less has you below the cut line. That's one of those ones where if AOY isn't decided, it could be anyone's ball game there. We're going to get a good preview of that next week when this announcement's happening. Next week, we have the Bassmaster Open there. We're going to have the past champion, Brian Schmidt. He might have divulged a bunch of good info for us, Tommy. Now he might have to reserve some. Who knows?
That's right, yeah.
But it'll be good viewing.
The secret's out.
If you want to see what it's going to be like, we're a little bit later in 2024 for the Open there, but it'll be good bearings on what to maybe expect. I know the locals there in La Crosse, those anglers in Wisconsin and Minnesota that fish that body of water, man, they post photos of 20-plus pound bags. Different times of the year, different water levels, different pools, and I like the options that this provides. Do you stay in La Crosse in Pool 8 to play safe? Do you go up to Onalaska? Do you go down to Stoddard and that region?
You can get your 3-pounders in all three, just about everywhere there. The 4-pounders are the gold standard, and the 5-pounders, like a couple other places we're going this year, are the ones, the difference makers, the game changer.
And we've seen in some events all largemouth factor. And we've seen in some events smallmouth make their presence known, and we'll see if this is a year in 2025 when smallmouth show back up.
So run it down one more time real quick.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll just ping pong. St. John's, Okeechobee, that's
All
in
right.
February.
Pasquotank River in North Carolina and Lake Hartwell, that's April.
And then we go to Texas for 2, Lake Fork and Sabine.
Both of those in May, and in June we go to Lake Tenkiller in Oklahoma.
Got a 2-month gap.
Yeah, and then we skipped all the way to August for the northern swing.
And we'll have St. Clair and Mississippi River, Tommy. So a couple different states represented, only Florida and Texas duplicated there, but it'll be good. Ray Roberts, Fork, and Sabine, 3 different looks for the state of Texas.
That's 2025 for the Bassmaster Elite Series. It's kind of a ways off right now, but it won't be long before you need to get it on your mind.